Good morning. This is City Council work session for Tuesday, January 18th, 2022. It is 10 o'clock. Our first discussion item today is Tutorial D. Sophia expansion support. City Manager Bill Bell.
Bill is here remotely. It might just take a second to get him here, but he'll be presenting this item. And then we also have the owners of the restaurant here to share information as well. Bill, can you hear us? Are you there?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. So I'm still a bit under the weather, so if I lose my voice, I apologize for that. But we are excited to finally bring this before the City Council to talk about the Tratteria di Sophia project. We have worked on this for a couple of years. Originally, probably first started talking about the need for more commercial kitchens in our community 5 years ago through the DART program. And the idea at that time was to get more nightlife, more restaurant opportunities, and those types of things into our community. And by building more commercial kitchens, that provides in perpetuity more restaurant availability throughout the community. Whether it stays in one location forever or moves around, the commercial kitchen project that we'll be talking about will stay in this location and will serve us for years to come. So we're really excited about it. We have the owners with us today from Tratteria di Sophia, representatives from the owners team. We have interpretation today as well to help with the communication. I have not been in person with anyone here for feels like over a week, maybe almost 2 weeks, to get a lot of the details worked out in person with all of you. But I did email council with the one-page information sheet just here a few minutes ago, and this will all go into our future council packets when we're actually making decisions. But at this point in time, we're just looking to have a discussion and finally bring the project into the public venue. We're really excited that by partnering with Colorado Outdoors in the new flex building space, we're able to meet a few needs all in one project. The Tratteria folks are doing an excellent business in downtown Montrose, and they're really looking to expand, and she's going to tell you about their current business and why they need to expand and how much more they can provide our community in the way of employment and sales projections and service here in a minute. But the flex building itself was designed as a reminder for everyone in the community as a flexible workspace, business incubator type of space where small businesses can go into there, get established or expand their operations for several years, and then they can move on and build their own building somewhere else if they'd like, or they can expand in that particular building. That's why each of the units, the dividers can be removed and can be expanded on site. So the flexible workspace project there in Colorado Outdoors is perfect for an expansion like this. We also focus a lot on business retention and expansion here in Montrose, and this is another one of those projects where we take an outstanding local business and help them grow and do it right here in Montrose so they don't have to leave our community to grow. We also are providing the restaurant on the north end of, oh wait one second. Okay. On the north end of the flex building, there is an outdoor area at the very far north end. That will be their outdoor dining and patio space, will be part of this project. This will serve as the full service restaurant for the new Marriott Hotel. The Marriott early on said that the Fairfield Inn by Marriott does not include full service dining, and so to be fully successful, they would need a nearby full service restaurant. And so all along, we have had the Tratteria folks in mind to meet the needs of the Marriott, and this will do just that. So we're really excited about that. And as a reminder to everyone, the Marriott has been talking to us and they're looking to break ground next month. So I would turn it over to the owners of the Tratteria di Sophia to talk to City Council a little bit about their project and why they're excited about it. And then I can get into more numbers and those types of things, Mr. Mayor, after they present to you, if that would work.
If you would, please come forward.
Just we can make sure everyone joining remotely can hear you through the microphone. If you don't mind speaking here. Thank you. And then if you feel like speaking in Spanish, then Antonio will translate in English so that council understands. And it's up to you.
If you would, have please state your name.
Okay. My name is Xochitl Zamora.
She's the owner. And my name's Monica Zamora. I'm the daughter.
Okay. ¿Qué es lo que quieren oír? ¿Tienen pregunta o eso? Okay. Me lo digo en español y te lo okay. Que estamos muy emocionados con este nuevo proyecto. Y muy o quiere ver lo que Ajá. Estamos muy emocionados con este nuevo proyecto y muy agradecidos con todo el apoyo que nos han dado.
I'm so excited for this new project, and we are so thankful for the opportunity that we are given to us.
Hemos sido residentes de Colorado por 20 años. 11 en Tellura y 11 en y 10 aquí en Montrose.
We've been a long time residents in the area, about 20 years, 11 years in Telluride and the rest here.
Y estamos seguros de que la expansión de este negocio va a ser muy bueno para la ciudad de Montrose.
We're so sure that the expansion of our business is going to bring a lot of business to Montrose and it's going to be beneficial.
¿Otra cosa que quieras decir tú?
And we're really, we cannot express how grateful we are that you guys have showed us so much support with John and helping us with the lease, the extension of those 2 more months, because that really helped us and relieved a lot of stress for my mom. We do know it's something new and we're very excited with this project. If you guys have ever came into our restaurant like on a weekend, you guys see that we are always packed, and we can't see as many people as we'd like to, you know. And I feel like with this new project, we'd be able to see more people, and more of Montrose will understand what the type of business we are and how much effort my mom and dad put into it every single day, and just the quality of our food, how fresh it is, and just be able to provide to Montrose, the residents of Montrose, and any tourists, a good home-cooked meal. And yeah, anything else, Mom?
Y pues sí, diles que si nos ayudan, el señor espera. Y si nos ayudan, de todos vamos a estar seguros que no los vamos a defraudar, y vamos a estar comprometidos con eso.
Igualito aquí. Porque lo necesitan escuchar ellos en español.
¿Oh, en español?
Sí.
Oh, okay. Y con la ayuda que nos den, con la ayuda que si ustedes nos ayudan, vamos a estar seguros de que no los vamos a defraudar y nos vamos a comprometer con los requerimientos que nos pongan, y también no se van a arrepentir.
And I'm pretty sure that with the help that you can give us, you are not going to be disappointed, and it's going to be so helpful for our business.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions?
I have a comment. I'm very excited that there will be a full-service restaurant located in that part of town. It fulfills a promise that we made to the Marriott Hotel to have a full-service restaurant there. I also think that it will help more businesses choose to relocate, and that will ultimately help our URA to grow and thrive.
I love Trattoria. I love it. It's a great restaurant, and I would look forward to being able to get a seat. The one thing I would point out for the public is that this isn't a gift. This is a loan. Now, the loan does have a structure in it to be forgiven based on performance, and we aren't going to expect miracles, but we are expecting a good, solid business at your restaurant because it's a very popular location to go.
Anthony, any questions?
Es para todo.
All right, thank you guys very much. Bill, do you have any additional comments?
Yes, if I could just run through some of the sales projections and some of the employment numbers quickly, if that's all right.
You guys can have a seat.
The Tratteria, as I mentioned, would be at the north end of the North Flex building. And they've already described it as an Italian restaurant, sit-down dining, full-service experience. Just wanted to highlight that the construction has already started. It started in the fall for the build-out of the restaurant and is estimated to be completed by April. They mentioned an extension of their current lease. The city worked with their current landlord, John Renfro, and the Dragoos, and also another business in town that's looking at the space they're currently in. And we were able to help negotiate an extension to that lease. So that's what they were referring to, just to help in their transition so they're not down for several months and would create undue hardship to their business. So we're trying to mitigate the amount of time that they would be closed. Construction was bid out, and several local contractors bid on doing this project, and Shaw Construction was chosen in partnership between the Dragoos and the city of Montrose based on their projections and their numbers and their timelines and the ability to get equipment and furnishings quickly, try to get the restaurant moved over as quick as possible. So Shaw Construction, who's also building the new public safety complex and did work for the Flex building and other things in Colorado Outdoors. There will be a variety of local subcontractors on the project. Design for this build out is through Motley Architecture and Design, a local architectural firm, so I think that's important as well. And the estimated sales revenue for the restaurant starting out will be $1.5 million annually. With that estimate, sales and excise restaurant taxes estimated to come back in would be $57,000 per year. Based on that number will most likely grow every year that they're in this location, especially once the apartments and the hotel are built. We would expect that number to go quite a bit higher, but this is a conservative estimate. And then the Councilmember Frank mentioned that this is a loan, not a gift. The idea is to structure it as a forgivable loan. So based on the restaurant being in operation and being full service dining at this location, each year for 5 years, 20% of that loan would be forgiven. So at the end of 5 years in that given location, that loan would be totally forgiven. The owners had asked, well, what if we outgrow this space in 7 years or so? Can we go and build our own building somewhere in the community or in Colorado Outdoors? And would the city help us again down the road, or is this a one-time shot? And we told them that we would love for them to outgrow the space and have enough clientele that they need to double their footprint again in 7 to 10 years, and we would love to help them at that time. So it isn't a one and done. We want to partner with our local businesses for as long as they want to be in operation here in Montrose and keep expanding their business. Normally we try to talk about the total contribution to the project. So This construction project is valued at just over $800,000. The share from the city in total would be the commercial kitchen and the building permit fee waivers that we normally do for construction project like this for businesses expanding here in Montrose, and this business incentive agreement that we're talking about today. In total, the city's portion would be about $400,000. And that would be a little higher than what we normally do when we go in to just help a small business expand. But that's because on top of this business incentive expansion agreement, we're also talking about the DARTS commercial kitchen program, which is a little different and increases the cost, of course, to build out that commercial kitchen. The restaurant owners themselves would be bringing around $70,000 to the table of their own money to help with the expansion and the move over to the new facility. And then the remaining several hundred thousand would be coming from the owners of the Flex building, the Dragoos and their partners at Colorado Outdoors. So it'd truly be a three-way partnership between the Dragoos, their partners, the city, and the restaurant owners. Employment projections for this project, this would allow them to expand their operations as mentioned, and they would be able to employ 23 employees made up of a variety of line cooks, dishwashers, pizza cooks, prep cooks, servers, bussers, hostesses, and bartenders, as well as the chef and the family themselves. So I just wanted to highlight a little bit more about the business operations and their plans. Again, that would all be included in the packet when it comes to you actually making a decision on this in February. At the meeting, this will all be available in the public packet, but due to my being out of the office, it was kind of a last minute put together for me yesterday. And I can answer any questions that council might have.
Any questions, Anthony?
Yeah, Bill, I would like to first say that this is a perfect example of a public-private partnership when it comes to economic development and growing our community and meeting the needs of our community as we do grow. I think that I've seen the hard work that went into it, and in the background was involved a little bit, and so I think it's really exciting to see just the next steps of evolution of our economic development processes and where we're going. And I just want to reiterate or ask a question for you to reiterate that the commercial kitchen portion of this project and what that means to our community moving forward, that this is not just about expanding a restaurant, but also expanding our capabilities.
David?
Just to reiterate that, it's the plan when we first established DART, and even with some of our discussions early on through the DDA and our Main Street program, was to help businesses break through that barrier. Small businesses find it very difficult to put in the capital necessary to create a commercial kitchen from scratch. And we just don't have many available in our community that are available for new businesses. And so one way to help them pop up around the community is for the city to partner and make that happen. So some past examples, which were on more of a limited scale, was our partnership with Straw Hat Farms in the building across from City Hall there. We helped with some rent reductions and those types of things early on in our partnership with Straw Hat to help them get established in their prep area in the back and that kind of thing. But this is our first true commercial kitchen venture. And the important thing, just like when we do property improvements and we invest in buildings and sidewalks, curb, gutter, parking lots, those types of things in our community, we try to invest in things that stay behind if a particular owner or business were to leave. And this is a good example of that. So when we say commercial kitchen, we're not talking about the things you sit on your countertop in your kitchen that you can leave and take with you. We're talking about the built-in items of a commercial kitchen that are very pricey, like walk-in coolers, walk-in freezers, the HVAC and hood system of the range, which is really important, the fire suppression systems that go into commercial kitchens, all of those types of things that are very costly. A lot of stainless steel, which drives the cost up, of course, for commercial kitchens. And that's why it's so pricey. When we, 5 years ago, we were talking about the cost of a commercial kitchen being 180 to 200,000. And with the price of steel going up and everything on the kitchen industry, 250,000 is more like it today. So that'll be left behind if Tratteria ever were to go out of business or leave. We'll still have a commercial kitchen there, and quickly we can move another restaurant into that facility. I would hope in the next couple of years on Main Street and some other places in our community where we've already had some preliminary discussions, we might partner with some other people that want to put in new commercial kitchen spaces. Did that address your thoughts, Anthony?
That did, Bill. Thank you for elaborating.
And as a further elaboration, any restaurant or any business in Montrose is welcome to come and approach us and talk to us about this type of thing. This isn't a special deal. This is an ongoing economic development program that we are trying to work on and trying to really move forward in our community. So this is available to anybody in Montrose that wants to try to improve the quality of their location and their quality of their kitchen services.
Barbara, anything? All right. Thank you. Bill, do you have any other points you want to make or conclude it at this point?
No, if you don't have any further questions, that's all I had for you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Gracias.
The next item on our agenda is the intergovernmental agreement with the Montrose Recreation District. Kendall.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Lisa, it doesn't look like I have permission yet to share the screen. Can you please help me with that? Thank you very much. Join as panelist. Thank you. Perfect. Again, thank you. Today I'm here to present to you the tentative agreement, intergovernmental agreement with the Montrose Recreation District. We have Jeremy Master, the Recreation Manager, here with the district to present them. Each year we have an intergovernmental agreement that comes before Council as well as the Recreation Board to provide services to the community and basically save tax dollars for the community to best serve the needs. So we've been working very hard over the last several months, really. There were some pretty big changes, and that's why it's coming a little later than anticipated. But we're excited that we have this agreement, we think, in a really good position for your consideration. In your packet, you'll notice that there is a cover letter that outlines some of the changes, as well as the red line version, and that's what I would like to go through. Not a whole lot of changes, but the changes we did make were kind of significant. So this shouldn't take too long, but I guess, first of all, does that work? Is that what you'd prefer for me just to go through that red line version? Wonderful. Okay. So we'll just scroll through here. Obviously, we updated the dates to 2022 for this agreement, so it will be effective after this is signed. Our existing agreement is still in place that we have. Under finance, we just made it more straightforward that our finance department will provide the district those financial reports, and some of those other things would be at their request if they wanted us to do that, and we don't provide mill certification either. So that was outlined in there. As we scroll through, some of these were just addressing grammatical errors or making it more consistent. For example, under facility services, there at the top, the city shall provide sweeping services for district parking lot areas as depicted in Exhibit A. It's not too big of a change. But under facility services, there was a change there, and that is that the city of Montrose will provide a full 10-hour day for parking lot maintenance at the Community Recreation Center, and that full 10-hour day will include labor, materials, and equipment, crack sealing, and that has been identified in Exhibit A of where that will be at the Community Recreation Center. And this value is estimated at $3,400 that we will provide that. Now, farther down in the agreement, it shows that that value, $3,400, is the same value of the services that the Recreation District will provide to the city for maintaining the turf at the new amphitheater. So it's an equal exchange of services. In exchange for the maintenance of the new turf, the city will be providing crack sealing of that parking lot a full 10-hour day, and the Recreation District will be providing that maintenance down there at the amphitheater. So that was estimated at $3,400. No, this is a new service, so we haven't been providing any crack sealing. We have been providing parking lot sweeping at the recreation center and as well as their other facilities. But the crack sealing is a new service that would be provided in exchange for the recreation district maintaining the turf at the. Let me scroll down to that page. And I'll just note that the formatting of this agreement is a nightmare. And I have tried so hard. That is correct. That is the only section right here on the screen, and the green box that's outlined, that is where that crack sealing will be provided. No, we won't. Yep. And let me just scroll back down through here.
Didn't mean to derail you.
No, that's fine. Clarification, that's good. Again, under facilities, if you scroll down to Cerise, we added the amphitheater fields. So the amphitheater is completed, and so we added the amphitheater field, which is a 1.5 acre field located in front of the amphitheater, and that defines where that maintenance will take place in Exhibit A. One of the other issues that we had to resolve was the scheduling to make sure that there weren't any conflicts with events that happen at Cerise Park or the amphitheater, because those are both very busy places for events. And so Lisa Del Piccolo, our city clerk, and Jeremy, they've worked out an agreement to make sure that we're scheduling appropriately. So for events larger than 100 people at the amphitheater, if it's outside of 60 days, they can go ahead and add it to the calendar. And I'll let Jeremy and Lisa chime in here too, because they might understand this a little better than me. But if it's outside of those 60 days, they can add it to the shared calendar, and which they both monitor. If it's within 60 days, there has to be a formal notification to make sure that it doesn't conflict with other activities at the amphitheater or Cerise Parks. Am I understanding that correct, Jeremy?
And this is to avoid, say, having a big lacrosse tournament on the Cerise fields at the same time there's a big outdoor craft vendor fair at the amphitheater. It's to avoid those conflicts that might create a parking problem. Is that the idea?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Wonderful. So they've reached an agreement on how to schedule those facilities to make sure that we avoid those conflicts moving forward. And Lisa has been designated as the main point of contact for scheduling, and Jeremy has been for the Recreation District. So they'll work together to avoid conflicts moving forward. And we'll see how it goes this year, because this is the first year of the amphitheater that'll be fully in service. So it might be a learning year, but we're very confident that this agreement will work. As we scroll down, we've identified some specific dates of events, again going along with the scheduling that we know are going to happen. Those holidays, Independence Day, Memorial Day, the Funk Fest, which is always the second weekend, or typically the second weekend in August, Youth Appreciation Day, which is a district event which happens on the third weekend in August. So those are some things that we know are going to be happening, so we can work around those to make sure that those facilities are scheduled appropriately. Under maintenance, one of the big ones again is the trimming and maintenance of the amphitheater field. So the district shall provide mowing and trimming 1 day per week during the growing season. The growing season has been identified as March 1st and concludes on October 31st. Again, that value is $3,400. If there's additional services that are needed, say for example, maybe the grass starts growing unusually fast, we can request those services from the recreation district. Or perhaps maybe there's a special event down there and we really want it to look nice and groomed. We could call on the recreation district to provide that service at $50 per hour, including their labor and equipment. The city shall also maintain cerise and amphitheater fields after the district has ceased maintaining those fields. So in the non-growing season, the city is responsible for all of that, maintaining those fields down there. And the non-growing season is between November 1st of each year and concludes on the last day of February. So we kind of defined that since February sometimes has different end days. Links. Under use of cerise fields, again, we added amphitheater events, explaining what the uses of those fields can be used for. So if there was a larger event that maybe needed to use the amphitheater, or needed to use that, again, that kind of goes along with this scheduling, just to make sure everything flows great. And
Kendall, I have a question while we're on that maintenance item. Do we have any requirements for fertilizing the turf out there at all?
Jeremy, do you know? That would be a good question for. I can look into that with Jim Scheid.
Do I need to?
Yes.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Jeremy Master, Montrose Recreation District. I am certain that the city is doing the fertilization, I believe.
And it looks like we have Jim on the call.
Yeah,
If we could unmute him.
I'm 95% certain that they're doing.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you,
Along
Jim.
with that same issue, we might ask, since it's really laid out for people to sit on the grass, are we going to need to be doing any spraying for bugs or anything at all? I think those two issues we should have some information on.
Jim, would you like to answer those questions, please?
Yeah, so Jeremy's right. We fertilize those fields at least once a year, kind of depending on the year. Sometimes we do a spring application and other times we do a fall application. So the cerise and amphitheater fields would be fertilized at the same time by the city. As far as some kind of pest mitigation, we don't currently. Only if there were standing water, we may add some tablets too for to keep mosquitoes out of there. If there were any other concern with bugs or other things in the turf, we would address it, but we typically don't apply anything that is for bugs only.
All right, thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim, as well. Thank you, Jeremy. Let me find my place again. So for maintenance, those were the only changes in that section. As we go down, facility access for employees. So City of Montrose employees, as well as our council, we receive a discount to use this facilities at the recreation district. And so under section B, we also just outline when those services should end. So for example, a city employee, if they were terminated or left or resigned, the City of Montrose would notify the recreation district, and those services or that pass privilege would end at the end of that current month. And then our HR department and payroll work to make sure that those changes are made with the recreation district. In exchange for providing this agreement and in exchange for collecting the tax on behalf of the recreation district, there is an administrative cost that's reimbursed or as part of this agreement that we've worked out, and so those numbers have been updated in section D. So it says, the city shall provide trash and recycling services to the district for the Field House, Community Recreation Center, Holly Park, and McNeil Fields, an annual value of $7,965, as noted in Schedule A. The district shall provide the city with a credit equivalent to $7,965, which will be used towards the annual pass payment for city employees and council. So that number is adjusted based on the number of passes that we have for City of Montrose employees, as well as the recycling rates as well. Under section E, that number is adjusted as well. Excuse me, I'm getting a little confused here. That is the sales tax revenue one that we collect. That, I believe it's 3% sales tax. Shani might be on there. And so that number is adjusted based on it's a new calculation, but in the past we've based it on the number of employees that are outside of the district, and the district would reimburse that cost. But we've noticed it's been consistent, so it's based on like less than 1% of the total overall taxes that are collected in each given year for the district. And I believe Shani might be on the call if there's specific questions, because she has the insight on how that is calculated. But it's less than 1% of what the taxes are that are collected for the district. So those are the changes in that section. And then as we scroll down, just some updates with the people who are representing this agreement. Mark Plants, President. Christine Files is the Vice President for the Recreation District. Those exhibits have been changed to ensure that they reflect the changes in the agreement, including where that crack ceiling will be provided, as well as identifying that 1.5 acre field in front of the amphitheater. Under Exhibit B, we've added those services for the lawn maintenance there at the amphitheater rather. Down, I think, yes, Schedule A. So Schedule A is a list of the costs that are charged for the services that are provided. So each quarter we bill the recreation district for services that are provided. And so the cost for the hourly rates for these for some of the services is based on the position. So the person in that position, their burden rate plus a 3% administrative cost. Some of these other costs have been identified by our Public Works Department or our facilities team on the services that we provide, as well as our information technology IES services. So again, this would be for additional crack sealing services. So once we have completed that full 10-hour day of service, if the recreation district wanted us to do, for example, the other side of the parking lot, which would require more, they would be charged $350 per hour for that service. So these are for additional services. Under Table 3B, those rates have been adjusted for the new rates to collect trash and recycling. And new annual expenses have been added there. Under Table 4, Information Services Cost Schedule. So as you can tell, I think some of them went up, some of them went down. For example, computer support after hours went down from $64.01 to $62.76. So again, that's based on the person in that position, their burden rate plus a 3%. So if someone comes in and they're a newer employee, that cost would actually go down. They added an additional phone at the rec center, so that went up to 23 phones. No changes in the vehicles that they have. The facility services that we provide for the maintenance, that went up from $95 to $110 per hour. And those are the changes to the agreement. So we're really happy, again, to work with the Recreation District and provide these services. And we look forward to moving it forward. For the schedule of when this will be considered by the Recreation District, this is scheduled to be on their next board meeting on January 27th. And then after that, it would come back to council again for your full consideration. In the meantime, if you have any questions or if you'd like me to get any additional clarity on any of the items, I'd be more than willing to do that and appreciate it.
Anthony?
And first, good work on this. Appreciate it. One quick question in regards to any of the services that are offered post agreement when it's outside the agreement. is that held and then looked at the end of the year, or is it paid out regularly? Just out of curiosity.
So to my knowledge, I don't believe that we've actually had any additional services requested. For example, like sweeping of the parking lots, we provide that, but maybe Jeremy could answer that.
So there have not been additional monetary needs outside of this agreement necessary in recent years. It's a pretty thorough agreement that has been honed and built over many years. But both of our staffs are really focused on collaborating and working for the best of the residents, and we work very comfortably within this agreement and its confines and its openness.
It's reconciled. I think in Schedule A it states on a quarterly basis. So on a quarterly basis, you just look at both sides, balance it, and then whoever owes pays if we get to the point where that's necessary.
Well, there's very little that the rec district is charging the city. If you look at the schedules, most, or if not all of the fees are city towards the rec district. But they allow for whatever is used, whether it's financial services or IT, that there's not a to exceed number. It's by service and by hourly. And so we monitor our own usage of those things so that we don't blow our own budgets.
Councilor Russo, we do have, again, it is quarterly, so we have a quarterly spreadsheet. So where Jim and Shane and the Public Works, they enter it in, and then IT Services, Greg and his team will enter it in. So if there are additional services, there's actually a line on that where they can identify that. To answer, so the short answer is yes, we reconcile it at each quarter if there's additional services requested.
Yes, and Kendall has been excellent at providing those reports quarterly, and we've been working together on some of the aspects where improvement has been necessary, and we're getting better with that every quarter, as I know some systems have changed. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for all, excuse me, all of the hard work on this IGA between the rec district and the city. It's great to see that although it seems really complicated and it seems full of details, that the agreement really stays true to the reason that we created it in about 2013, which was to collaborate and share resources and talents and skills from both organizations. And that ultimately it's our taxpayers that are saving money by having the two organizations work together instead of each just being in their own silos. So every year it seems like it gets a little more complicated, but I think we're just every year refining and clarifying that IGA, but it really is staying true to the reason it was created in the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. I appreciate the work you guys have done on this. I know it's taken a lot of time and hours every year to go back through it and renew them. Thank you.
Yes, well, thank you. Well, I appreciate the council's support and also the work of Kendall and Lisa and all of our staffs, our respective staffs, for our work within the agreement to continue to hone and refine it as our city and district grow. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeremy.
The next item on our agenda today is the equipment purchase recommendations. Public Works Manager Jim Scheid.
Hello, council. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
We hear you fine.
Okay. All right. So I have a purchase recommendation for 2 dump trucks from Peterbilt Jackson Group out of Grand Junction. So we did include in our 2022 budget to replace these 2 dump trucks, and they would actually come with plows, and one of them would come with a sander. That's a salt sander that we would use in the wintertime for snow and ice removal. We actually have a new stainless steel sander for the second one already, so we only need one of the trucks to come with a new sander. So these trucks are used primarily in our streets division, but kind of used throughout public works as needed. But they would be, hauling asphalt or road base in the summer months, or doing special cleanups, that sort of thing. And then in the winter time, obviously used for snow removal and hauling snow. The two trucks that we're replacing are some of the oldest in our fleet. So they are about 17 years old, which means we've got a lot of good life out of them, but they are definitely ready for replacement. So pricing wise on these purchases, we're using a cooperative purchasing agreement again for this is directly to Peterbilt, and that allows us again to utilize a government pricing for these trucks. And then in this case, Jackson Peterbilt would also be providing the truck outfitted with the dump bed and as well as the plow and the sander. So we're purchasing it as a single unit that is complete. And then we would be selling the two trucks that we currently have as replacements, and they would be sold outfitted with their plow and sanders as well. So overall cost wise, we're looking at a total of $493,078.90. The fleet over the last 17 years has collected for these two trucks of $464,000. And also as of last year, that was including an inflation on top of what we got quoted last year, was sufficient to cover the cost of these trucks. But as we've seen in a few purchases this year, that inflation has been going up pretty drastically in these last few months. And that has caused this purchase as well to be over by about $29,000. We've seen in a few purchases this year, some things were under anticipated, and a couple of things like these dump trucks and the trash trucks, those were over our budgeted amount. Now the fleet fund, it does have a balance that can cover that, and we will have to recoup that into the fleet fund in the amount we collect for these vehicles replacements in the future. So with that, I would take any questions that you have, or if I missed anything. Doing this virtually again is difficult, but I'd be happy to go through any more of that if you'd like.
I would just say that based on the inflationary problems we've been facing for the last year and a half, the fact that they're only 15,000 over the budget is actually pretty surprising. So thank you for smart shopping.
It is kind of surprising that we've been collecting for this replacement for 17 years. So really the amount we've been collecting was pretty dang close, considering that, we started that amount on a yearly basis or on a monthly basis for 17 years. To come in that close is surprising, really. Typically we are over though, and all of our the amount we collect for the replacement usually is more than the vehicle costs, and we do that for, to keep that fleet fund, with a balance. And we're adjusting for that as we're seeing these increases cost now. We're adjusting the amount we collect from the divisions and are recouping that into the fleet fund.
Any other questions, Council? All right, thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is Niagara Road Addition Annexation. Staff Planner 1, William Reese.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everybody. I have a presentation that I will share here. So this is the annexation of the Niagara Road Addition. This is another one of the city-owned cleanup annexations that we've been doing. And so this morning, for work session overview is obviously January 18th. We will be bringing this to the Planning Commission on February 9th, and then back to you for a first reading on March 1st and a second reading on March 15th. This here is the Vicinity Map. The addition consists of a piece of the right-of-way along Niagara Road.
Will, I'm
Say
sorry to
40
interrupt. Your presentation is not scrolling through on our side. Just wanted to stop before we get too far. We're still seeing the first slide.
Okay.
That looked better, what you just did. We were looking at the map. Now we see you.
All right, let me try this again.
Great.
I apologize. everyone.
No, you're fine. We're getting back into the swing of presenting virtually. So, yep, we see the general vicinity map now.
Okay.
Council, do you see it as well? I only see the big screen. Thumbs up from council. Okay, thanks, Will.
Yeah, Will, you might
Right.
just, since you're not in presenting mode, you might just have to click each slide as you talk about it.
Okay. All right, so back to where I was. This is a 40-foot wide by 496 2/3 foot long rectangle that was never annexed. The surrounding area was all annexed in the late 60s throughout the 70s, and somehow this piece was missed. Can everyone see the next slide?
No, do you mind just to try it? If you click present mode up at the top, I think in
Yeah.
PowerPoint.
Yeah, I have done that.
Okay. Like Councilmember Russo said, you might have to individually click them because we can see it now. We see the site location slide.
All right.
Thanks.
Try this way. So yes, this annexation is just being done to clean up those boundaries. The parcel consists of 0.456 acres of land. It is within the city's urban growth boundary, the City of Montrose water service area, and the City of Montrose sewer service area. Surrounding area is all zoned B2 highway commercial district with some R4 nearby. This zoning is intended to provide for business oriented towards serving the motoring public, and provides for the convenient exchange of goods and services along the major thoroughfares in the city. Given that this property is entirely surrounded by B2, we will be recommending B2 zoning for the Niagara Road addition. This here is the annexation plat. Hopefully people can see it this time. This just shows the property to be annexed and measures the contiguity to city limits. This is obviously 100% contiguous to the city. According to our comprehensive plan, this area is listed as residential mixed density low. This is primarily intended for single family homes and is intended to preserve the traditional building pattern of existing residential development. The property is within growth area 1. This represents the most cost efficient area for the city to grow and comprises land including unannexed small enclaves as we have here. And so in summary, the area is urbanizing and is completely contiguous to city limits. Because this is city right-of-way, the petition for annexation and the annexation agreement will not be required. This proposal is consistent with the public health, safety, and welfare, annexation policies, and the comprehensive plan. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anthony, any questions? David? Barbara? Thank you very much, William.
Thank you.
All right, the next item we have is general city council discussion. Barbara, do you have anything today?
I do not. Thank you.
David? Anthony? Well, I guess we'll go to staff. Ann, do you and staff have any comments?
Good morning. I do not have any comments. Just thank you for your patience as we're working through hybrid meeting formats again. And I think that's all. If there's any questions, let me know while some of us are in the office and some of us are working remotely.
Bill, are you still out there? Do you have any comments?
I am still here, but I don't have any comments unless you had any questions for me.
All right. If we have no other staff comments, we'll conclude the meeting for today. Thank you very much, folks.